Top 10 Euthanasia Research Topics. Moral doctrine of active and passive euthanasia. This topic investigates the moral doctrine concerning active and passive euthanasia. You may present the ethical distinctions between these two forms of medical treatment and the arguments for and against each. How do ethical theories, such as utilitarianism and virtue ethics, inform the moral assessment of these practices? Besides, you can write about implications considering the moral aspects. Euthanasia in Christianity and Buddhism. How do Christian teachings and values inform the view on euthanasia? What are Buddhism's major ethical considerations and teachings against death and dying? Try to spotlight the perspectives of Christianity and Buddhism on euthanasia, analyzing the religious teachings that shape their positions on end-of-life decisions. Acceptability of euthanasia, moral and humanistic views. This paper reviews the acceptability of euthanasia from both moral and humanistic viewpoints, considering the ethical implications and compassion for suffering individuals. You might provide the essential ethical and humanistic considerations to balance when discussing the practice of euthanasia. Euthanasia-Associated ethical challenges in nursing. We encourage you to study the ethical challenges that healthcare professionals may face in relation to euthanasia. Therefore, you may present issues such as professional duty and legal frameworks. What ethical principles and codes of conduct guide nurses in navigating the topic of euthanasia? Euthanasia and assisted suicide in Europe and the US. In this topic, you should compare the legal and ethical frameworks surrounding euthanasia and assisted suicide in Europe and the United States. Thus, you can spotlight the variations in legislation and cultural attitudes. Present the core disparities in regulations governing euthanasia and assisted suicide. What are the ethical and practical repercussions of legalizing these practices in various regions? Euthanasia law, legalization of euthanasia issues. Discuss the challenges surrounding the legalization of euthanasia. How does the legalization of euthanasia influence patients' rights and healthcare providers' responsibilities? We propose to reveal how society balances individual autonomy and the duty to protect vulnerable categories of persons. Euthanasia from religious perspectives. This essay addresses the religious perspectives on euthanasia, analyzing how different religious traditions shape attitudes toward end-of-life decisions. You might write about religious perspectives contributing to a broader understanding of the ethical and moral dimensions. How do religious teachings influence societal debates surrounding euthanasia? Law and medical ethics, euthanasia and physician-assisted death. This paper considers the intersection of law and medical ethics in the context of euthanasia and physician-assisted death, considering the legal frameworks and professional obligations. What are the ethical principles that inform the discussions on these practices? Try to explain how healthcare professionals navigate the legal and ethical complexities. The debate surrounding euthanasia as a method against human suffering, source evaluation. Focus on measuring sources in the debate surrounding euthanasia as a means to alleviate human suffering, critically analyzing the reliability, credibility, and bias of different perspectives and arguments. How do different viewpoints contribute to the comprehension of euthanasia as a response to suffering? What does Kantian ethics say about euthanasia? What are the ethical implications and limitations of applying Kantian principles to the complex ethical debates surrounding end-of-life care? We suggest revealing the perspective of Kantian ethics on euthanasia, examining Immanuel Kant's moral philosophy and its repercussions for end-of-life decisions. Find more research topics on studycorgi.com.